Welcome everybody. I hope y'all are having a good day today. I appreciate that, Austin, because I was talking the entire time and did not realize that my mic was muted on the opposite side of this damn thing. So I hope y'all are having a good Wednesday. Definitely not too bad of a day to start for myself. I am looking over at the Kings of Comp as far as our league play and where we stand up to this point. Obviously, we are in that week zero stretch, so everybody at this point should have at least, as far as recruiting, got either had your recruiting set up or at least put your stuff on auto. That has been the communication is before you either before you finish a game or before you start a game or after you play that game, can you go in and just make sure that your team is set on auto? Because ultimately, if you're not going to sit in and do the recruiting piece, I'm not going to argue about that. It is what it is. I look. I'm not looking for everybody to be a nerd behind this game. I'm looking for people that play. That's always kind of been my thing. If you want to be a drug addict behind a game, then go ahead. But everyone's different when it comes to gameplay. Some people are just casual. That's just how it is. But please make sure before and after games, if you have not done so at this point, to at least make sure that your recruiting is set up. I wanted to make sure I stated that before we go through the show. For the most part, it looks like everyone has played up to this point, so there's not really a lot going on in regards to what we needs to be considering as far as league play. Obviously, there's going to be a fair sim situation with Penn State and Oklahoma. That's more on me. Looking over at the ACC, there is going to be a forced win given to USC. Looks like we're going to have to move on from Jeremy up to this point, which will get a new user in. Don't know if he's going to take Syracuse or if he's going to be looking at U.S. or at Syracuse, or he may look at California or Boise State. It all depends on how this all plays out. So he may have a very different schedule than what we originally had set up for those teams. But again, just trying to get somebody in. We want the whole goal is about activity. I know I had a few different guys communicate how as far as my activity when it came to doing shows and all of those things. We're getting back to that. We're going to try to get back to that weekly basis, even if it's just as simple as giving off standings and kind of where we stand. Colton, if you're watching the show, I wouldn't mind if you put in the chat and just said, "Hey, Colton's an asshole because he was an asshole when he played Clemson and destroyed him with Old Miss." Was up 24-0. Obviously, Tillman was just pretty much done with it at that point. He pretty much conceded his not only the game but conceded his team away as well, walking away from the league. And again, I understand. Sometimes Colton can likes to step out and be an asshole and did everything possible to make sure the man was not productive. So if you're brave enough in the chat to tag Colton and call him an asshole, go ahead and do so. But we are looking at that's the ACC games for Week 0. Looking at the Big 12, this was an interesting game to watch actually between Jacob and J Stack because I do think that J Stack has found some pieces through recruiting, but I don't think he's going to. I don't believe that team is going to be ready for him until next season. I think he has a season to go before that Kansas team really develops the way he wants to. 38-14, obviously a big win for Jacob there. As I stated earlier, between Penn State and OSU, this game is going to be a fair sim. Looking over at Texas Tech and Auburn, and Auburn played well. Block kind of surprised me with this. I didn't really expect Block to put up this kind of performance to start the season against Isaiah. Also, at the same time, as far as the skill set, not really sure where Block landed as far as college. Played well enough in this game. Obviously, against Isaiah, Isaiah did have to go for two at the end to pull that one out. Swag does take out Nick Adams 43-21. He did get a pretty good win here. I caught the first half of this game. He was up big, obviously you can see on the scoreboard, and then from that point I'd kind of taken my eyes off of it. But this was a big game, an important game. I think really in the space of Swag. being in that Big 12. Big 12 looks a little bit different. Same thing for, really, you could say the same thing for in regards to Nick Adams as far as the Pac 12, but I'm not really sure he's going to have a whole lot of concern just yet as far as this loss. Big win for Swag, especially with already having the previous champ. So definitely want to make sure to shout out Swag, getting him a national championship. So he definitely needs to make sure to win every game because they are going to matter as we get closer to these playoffs. So I've definitely congrats to Swag on that one. Looking at, I almost said Frizzle, but we have a new Missouri user in the league, or I'm actually really sure what team he played with prior. I thought he was, I don't remember what team he played with, uh, but definitely a big game. Definitely a big game there for Jay Rose. Jay Rose played well in this game. Jay Rose is one of the few people that makes me want to eliminate playmaker because he had a lot of plays on third down. If I was Mizzou after the game, I probably would have relayed how irritated I was that Buddy was out here pretty much getting lucky on playmaker. That's just Jay Rose. He gets time, you give him time. Here comes playmaker, and you happen to not be in man defense, and this receiver is going up the field that you just simply cannot control or keep from going upfield to be successful. 42-28. I definitely expect to see some difference for our Missouri user. I think he's also in the. I believe he's in the Big 12. We're going to look at some of the conference stuff. That's the PS5 guy. I'm not. I think he's from the original Good Time Space or with Swag's group. But he obviously, I'm curious to see how he's going to pan out. This is going to benefit Jay Rose as far as rankings concerned. Yes, even that early. And then we had Texas and Tennessee, two users that pretty much. I feel like these guys go on vacation with each other at this point. Every time one says something, the other has something to say. There is a very quiet beef between Qua and Hendricks. It's not really said out loud, but you kind of see it just through small hints, portions of communication. Obviously, we had the addition of adding Hendricks to the board of directors. He's playing kind of in an interim role right now. Obviously, we're expecting that to change as time goes on. But Quad gets his game. Definitely, it was a home game for him, so definitely going to be a tough situation for Hendricks playing with Tennessee going into Austin to obviously try to defeat Quad, but ultimately 24-9, Quad does pull this one out. And then we had Austin. I don't know why. Again, Austin and Colton have disrespect on their spirit. I'm not sure where that comes from. I'm not sure their desire to play with so much hatred, but 54-18. I was expecting a little bit better out of Olympic just because I felt like with those Huskies, he has improved that team. It's funny because there's a lot of communication about the recruiting space and what people are doing right or wrong, people not giving time to this, yada, yada, yada. Everybody has an opinion on how you're supposed to play this game. That's the thing I'm coming to realize is every single person comes across. Hell, we even have that in our BOD in the admin team. I've seen it in different leagues. Everyone has an opinion on what you are supposed to do to build on this game. And I don't believe there is a specific way because, one, everything seems random at times when it comes to how players' skill points goes up and down. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Olympic, even though he got crushed by Austin in this game. I mean, it was bad. It was real bad. I think it was like 31-0 at half or something like that. It was not pretty. But I obviously started to find some kind of offense in the second half. I'm curious to see what's going to happen even with Austin going forward. I mean, that's a big game. I think Austin's going to be in the playoffs and potentially in the playoffs over in a different league. So we're going to see what that looks like for him in KOC with these Colorado Buffaloes, 54-18. This was a big win for Austin. Tougher loss, I'd say, probably for those Huskies. Going over to the Big Ten, you have Michigan State and Notre Dame. And wow, yo, hold on. I didn't know Rome lost. My apologies, everyone. I need to tag somebody real quick. Give me just a second. Give me just a sec. I did not know. the Fighting Irish went down. The last time when I looked at this game, I knew it was tied in the first. I knew it was a close game throughout. I did not realize the Irish got taken down by the Michigan State Spartans. Shout out to Lolo for committing to the situation and trying to build over there. And looks like he's starting on the right track with Michigan State. But Rome lost. What the fuck? I didn't know Rome lost that game. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting to see how. It's gonna be interesting to see how the rankings adjust as league play goes on. And again, I want to make sure I apologize for my lack of focus. It's when it came to looking at all these little particulars in league play, when it came to rankings, recruiting, all those different things. We are about to stay. We are moving forward in a positive direction. That is the whole goal. I want to shout out Quan Swag for the consistency that they have had, even for the BOD. Like we are pressing towards getting this thing different. Oh wow! So, Rum, I just want you to know that just in case you ever see the show, that J Rose is very disrespectful. I just want you to know that he's very disrespectful. Obviously, we looked at Kansas State and Penn State, and then I believe going over to the Pac-12, Arizona and Alabama is the last game that we're waiting for as far as the Week 0 is confirmed. Is concerned. Once we get that game over, obviously we should advance, and I believe they're going to be playing around 4:30 to 5 o'clock Central in the Week 0 standpoint. And then I do expect Alabama to take this game from Ip Man. Damn, Rome, you really went out there and took a L, a fresh hot one. That's crazy. And then over at the SEC, again, it's a very similar picture, as you know, just kind of way how this game works. So I did want to go really quickly through Week 1 and just give a quick look to see where everybody sits or what games are going to be coming up. Obviously, we'll get the channels up and get everybody acclimated as far as this next. No, I said Alabama is going to. He should whoop Arizona. If I didn't say that, I apologize. But Alabama should win against that Arizona squad. I'm not a believer in. I used to be a believer in Ip Man. That has changed when he just hasn't been playing that well, and I don't know another way to put it. I got respect for the man, but he ain't done nothing, cuz it's just that simple. He ain't had zero production, zero production. At all, nothing. He had nothing. He had nothing. He got zero. But obviously, we're going to look at this Week 0 real quick, and then I'll jump over to the recruiting side, talk a little bit about the recruiting side, just because again, wanting to make sure people just understand. It's not that I'm not going to say people don't understand the game. I'm just going to simply say that I don't think you guys realize the options you have as far as building teams for the long term. So I'm going to take a quick break, get me some water, and then we are going to discuss. Man, Rome lost. You lost to Lolo, though? That's crazy. Well, week 1 is going to start off week 1 is probably going to start off the not completely the way I wanted it to, because I did have the schedules originally set before the game made me restart on the schedules. I was super pissed about how the schedules made me restart. Like, I wasn't mad about the reset because I had to do them over. It was the fact that I had a perfect situation, because I had real people that did not. It's not even about liking each other as much as it was like there was just no real respect, you could say, as far as gameplay. So I was really hoping to have that, but unfortunately with the reset, it just didn't work out that way. So we're gonna go through this Week 0, and then we're gonna talk about this right here. So first, Florida State and Georgia, I believe Florida State was originally Nike, and then that's switched over to Tony Yayo with Florida State. So this is a big game. And again, I want to make sure I don't sugarcoat this because I'm just telling you right now, this ain't no farm leagues and none of that stuff. I hope y'all are playing to win and not like this is where we are. We are playing to win. Obviously, we need to go ahead and get something out for Qua for winning a bowl. Florida State and Georgia. I'm actually going to go with Georgia by 7. Boise State and Kentucky, obviously, that's a CPU game. We're going to have two users that don't know each other. This is going to be fun between Liv and Isaiah. This is going to be fun. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Obviously, this is going to benefit Liv if he wins this game as far as rankings to put himself automatically in a position as far as playoffs are concerned, conference bowls, et cetera, et cetera. But actually, yeah, I'm going to go with Liv. I'm going to go with Liv coming in to the league on his first game and basically putting everyone on notice that he is like that. Allegedly, he's allegedly like that. Michigan's going to end up playing the new Syracuse user unless again he switches over to a different team within that conference. He should go with Syracuse just for the simple aspect of schedules and all those things. So I do expect Lolo to play the new Syracuse user. Man, Rome, you really lost. That's crazy, Rome. All that shit you was talking and you didn't walking around with L's. That's crazy. But I do expect those two to play. I don't know a lot about the new user that's coming in. All I know is he's a friend or a connection to people that have an understanding of his skill, have an understanding of his commitment to league play. So we'll see how that plays out. Miami's going to get him a free game here. And then we're going to have Smitty against Jay Rose, which is super, super, super annoying if we don't get this game before Smitty gets on a plane because I absolutely would love Jay Rose to do this thing that I like is that's hurt Buddy's feelings before he goes on a cruise. That would be great. I would really love to see him go on a cruise. I would love to see. I would love to see Smitty before he take his flight out of the state of Washington to be in a place of not depression, just frustration, and it comes from J Rose. That would be beautiful. So I'm taking J Rose by 14. That's the ACC. Looking at the Big 12, obviously we did talk about the game between Liv and we already talked about the game between Liv and Isaiah. Ohio State and Oklahoma. I don't know what's going on with Justin James as far as not necessarily gameplay or the activity stuff. Is Justin James has always been an issue on some level when it comes to the activity up and down. I get that. If you know what the guy does for a living, you'd understand why he's that way. But he should beat Swag. I think I'm just tired of seeing Swag look good in league play. I don't know where that came from. This ain't the Swag I used to know. Swag used to be down there with Jeremy and all of them, and now he done switched up. Things looking different now for Swag. Swag's going to be 2-0. I don't think Justin James gets a dub here. Looking over at Missouri and Oklahoma State, I do expect Missouri to bounce back. I don't think that Oklahoma State is going to get a win in the sim loss between him and Penn State. So he's going to be 0-2 by the time he runs into the PS5 guy. And then, of course, J-Sack's going to get a free dub there going up against Baylor. Looking at the Big Ten, we have the Huskies and Kansas State. The funny thing is I actually give Olympic a chance here to take on that Kansas State team and knock them down a notch as far as rankings. We've talked about Michigan State, Penn State, and UCF. I have no idea. I have no idea who is. I want to know why they chose. Is this Preacher? UCF is Preacher. Brad's going to lose this game by 7. That's so disrespectful, I know. That's the hard part about the truth. USC and Alabama is going to be Kevin Freeman going up against the Roll Tide. And when I say Roll Tide, it's not just because of those Alabama Roll Tide. It's because he's got 18 wheels that roll down the street, and he's gonna. The USC is gonna walk into Alabama the same way. I can't even get that joke off. Alabama's gonna win by 7 here. Michigan and A&M. Obviously, myself going against Bloodshed. Man, I've heard a lot of good things about Bloodshed's game this season. Or on this in league play. He beat Smitty in the playoffs, so got to give him credit for that. I am not taking Blood. I just want you to know, Blood. Be clear. I am not taking you lightly, sir. We are coming in this game with the goal to get a dub. We are planning on walking out of this game with a dub. Rome's going to get a free win, obviously, against CPU against Wisconsin. So, congrats on your first dub of the season, Rome. We're super excited for you there. Going over to the Pac-12, we have LSU and Auburn. Noah is a good user, so he may pull this one out against Block. Of course, we've already talked about Kansas State and Illinois, and those are going to be the games there. Then we get to the SEC. Looking over at the SEC picture, a lot of similarities where all those games are going to be pretty much set, and you're going to see pretty much similar going down the road. Oh, I can't wait until NCAA gets to a point to where this game, as far as scheduling, we can have it simply just users. I don't know if they're ever going to get there, and I was going to share this on a show that was made for both KOC and LOC. The reason they can't get there is because there has something to do with a contract negotiations between EA and the NCAA game team that worked on NCAA in 2012. There's a contractual issue when it comes to NCAA that is impacting why this game is the way it is. I did not know that until like 2 days ago. So it's not so much that the game has missing pieces because they couldn't get it done as far as coding and whatever inside the game. This had something to do with money. This is a money thing, which makes sense when you talk about inflation and all the other things happening in our society. But that is the league as far as games going to next week. As far as the top 25, what I do appreciate that we have currently is that pretty much every team in league play is in the top 25. Man, I don't know, y'all. I don't think y'all understand how beautiful that is. Basically, if you're not in the top 25, California's going to get knocked out. I'm curious who this guy's going to go with as far as his team. If he's going to stick with Syracuse, what the decision is going to be made. But this is the current top 25 as far as league play. We've got Texas sitting at 1, Texas Tech at 2. Obviously, you got Colton at 3. I don't think that's going to change for a while. Smitty's obviously going to fall, being out of town. And then, of course, Swag. You'll see Penn State and a few other users jump up this list as far as gameplay itself. Now, the most important, not so important, but important thing to look at. 2 things. 1, I may do a split on this, but 1, you have coach abilities and you have coach XP goals. And your coach is designed in different ways. In this league, for whatever reason, I have recruiter and tactician. Coach A, obviously my prestige as well. But you have your coaching abilities. So keep in mind when you use those coins where it's going to benefit you. I've spent almost everything so far going towards tactician over in this league, over in KOC. You can put it on auto. If you're not somebody, if you're like me, where you're not somebody that's going to get on the game and sit there and go through it and figure all this shit out. Or even give time to figuring all this shit out. Same thing with recruiting. So I'm going to show y'all something. I did this on purpose. I'm going to show y'all my screen. I put my shit on auto just to show you what happens. I literally set this on auto after the first advance. Now, it's about to change because there's some players on here that I just simply don't want. I don't really care about people seeing this, to be honest. I mean, it just is what it is. But obviously, with the situation of with Texas Tech and my prestige still being high enough, look what it's doing for me as far as players. I'm pretty much in the race in a lot of situations, and that's on Otto. Even if you don't get those players, the other thing too is if you don't recruit during the season, you must recruit during the transfer portal week. If you're not going to do this in the regular season, you absolutely need to do this during the transfer portal. You have two different ways of success there: going all week, all season, communicating with those players, or snagging someone from the transfer portal or from the prospect list that's left over. You can put the shit on Otto. I put it on Otto in LOC last season. I was the lowest on the board all season for recruiting, and then by season end, getting going into the next season, I think I landed at 26th on that list. That's counting users and CPU teams as far as recruiting. Not all of them were, not all of them. I didn't have a bunch of 5 stars or anything like that. It was majority 3 stars and some 4 stars. I think I had like maybe 4 2 stars. But man, put the shit on Otto if you're not going to do it. But don't put your team in a situation. And I'm going to use Syracuse. I feel bad because he's probably going to watch the show. But I'm going to use Syracuse as an example here in a few. Currently looking at the race, I don't know. Again, I feel like Colton's cheating, Noah's cheating, J Rose is cheating, PS5 guy's cheating, Bloodshed's cheating. Everybody up here that already has a commit, I just want y'all to know y'all cheating. That's how I feel. You cheating. This is a whole bunch of people up here that's just cheating. But the recruiting piece is going to matter. Colton's done well. He's gotten 3 4 star commits up to this point. No 5 star commits just yet. We'll see how this pans out. But I wanted to give an example of why it's so important that you don't BS when it comes to recruiting. And unfortunately, we're going to have to use a user that is being replaced. So again, maybe I shouldn't use Syracuse. Maybe that's not nice. I don't know. I don't know how y'all feel about it. Maybe we'll look over at. I need somebody else to use. It's not Syracuse, but we're going to use Syracuse. So I'm going to give you an example here. Check this out. Tell you why this is bad. He's got one freshman on the team. One. That's it. That's all he's got. Now, currently for this team, obviously, he should be able to pan out over the season and he should be able to play. This team is not trash by any means. But as far as depth for the future, it's not looking healthy because the previous user did not, in the past few seasons, go in and simply recruit. If you don't want to do the recruiting piece and you're just somebody like me and you just like playing the game, that's fine. Let me show you something. There is a setting that you can choose after your game where all you need to do is go to auto recruiting, turn it on. Oh, you want your coach progression and you don't really know what you want to do. Turn it on. And the reason that I'm saying to turn that on has everything to do with the fact that the game is going to get you set either way. It's not going to get you the best situation. You still need to be able to do that on your own. But you don't need to leave the recruiting space in a negative because it's going to hurt a lot of things for your team. One, it's going to hurt your ratings. Two, the wear and tear piece that we already have seen on the game and how it impacts, which should be there. Three, your roster is going to be depleted. So as far as fatigue is concerned in gameplay, who else can you put in? Who can you rotate to? You can't even auto. You can't even auto sub because you ain't got nobody to sub with. So just don't take this space of recruiting and just ignore it. All I'm saying is put your shit on auto if you're not going to go in every week because this is not like Madden where in Madden you can simply, I'm on a tank. it's always funny to me because I've always thought to myself, most people I know that tank, they don't win. I know very few people that are active tankers in leagues that have won Super Bowls. Just saying, if you can tell me any of those people that actively tank for the off season that have won a bowl, just let me know because I don't know any of them personally. So all I'm saying is in college, man, you can't do that. You cannot in college. Every game matters. Every game when you're recruiting, it's going to impact. Oh, sorry, I meant to go to the other screen. In recruiting, as far as your school, it's going to impact all of these layers. It's going to impact your championship contender and what that means as far as league play. You can see the top schools above me on the right side. As far as program tradition, if there's a program tradition, what that means and how it impacts all this, believe it or not, all this right here impacts. It impacts if guys are going to come to your school or not. So it's not just about one. Don't tank. I'm telling you, if you're thinking about tanking on college, it's just not wise. It doesn't work that way. You can't just go into free agency and say, "Hey, we suck, but if we were able to get you on our team, we would be better." Like that doesn't work. It doesn't work that way with college. Best players want to go to the best schools where they can play. Program tradition, brand exposure, pro potential. Pro potential is huge. Yeah, you're looking at how many people that you can get into the first round because that's going to impact your coaching tree. Now, again, these aren't things that you select. These are just things that you need to look at after each season because it does impact your team. So I just want to make sure that people are just mindful of this and that you don't just look at this and ignore it and just move on to the just playing because I can already tell you what's happened just from a few users that I've seen falling out the league. You want to know the funny thing that I've heard from people when they've fallen out the league. One actually pretty recent. What happens to people when they fall out the league is they say, "Oh man, I don't really understand what's going on. My team isn't producing how I want it to. Yada yada yada." Cool, completely understand. And you know what myself and the admins do? Really simple. You go right here and you go, "Oh, okay. Well, what is their recruiting situation like?" Now, I'm not. I will be honest. I am not like everyone else when it comes to recruiting. I'm not. I don't believe that your success is dependent on recruiting. I don't. Um, I believe there's multiple ways in this game, and you can look at the coaching tree and it'll tell you that. But I don't believe that it's just one side of this game that you can benefit. Ultimately, at the end of the day, winning cures all. If you win, you are going to succeed on this game. Period. Go out and win. As far as schedule, and that's why is with the winning piece, sliding over to everyone's schedules, which I did try to do a show, but then I realized that everything was broke. But looking at everyone's schedules, just so everybody understands when it came to schedules, um, ultimately the goal here was to make sure that everybody had a reasonable schedule to keep everybody's team in a decent prestige level from a competitive standpoint. I do the same thing in LOC. It's no different. Everyone's schedule is based on where their teams sit and how it impacts them over the season. So that's why a lot of your schedules you're probably thinking either a I have a great schedule or not so much. Your schedule is based on how the game is impacted on wins and losses because we again you don't want to be somebody that is just consistently ass on this game, which makes sense why people fall off. I wouldn't be surprised if we have more people fall off on, which actually it's actually true. I've seen more people fall off from NCAA than I have Madden this year. Way more. Like if you think about the span of the when we started league play up until now, we've had way more people fall off in that time frame than I've ever seen on Madden. And it has nothing to do with the actual game itself. It's because either you're not recruiting the way you're supposed to, or you're not playing with your team the way your coaching tree is set up. Uh, I'm going to go into the coaching tree, for example. Again, I exposure theater, right? So let me see if it'll let me go into where is. Oh, so if you have motivator, if you have tactician, all of these things matter. I would never do this over in the other league, by the way. They're gonna have to learn this shit themselves. But uh, all of these things matter. I don't have none of this currently open yet, but we're gonna get there. All these things benefit your team, and based on what you have open, is how you play. So don't get lost in the. I think so many people are getting lost in the gameplay and saying, this game, I just don't understand it. Well, it's because there's more to it than Madden when it comes to the impact of how your team plays. So I'm just going to leave this on this screen for a second, just depending on who's all watching up to this point, just so you can see it. But ultimately, guys, that's the show. We're gonna get advanced. I'm thinking around 5:30 or 6. Obviously, the admins and between Swag and Qua will be able to get us moved to the next advance. Definitely a shout out to Alabama and Arizona. Alabama should win this game. Ip Man should win this game, but we'll see how. I said Alabama and then Ip Man because I don't really know who I want to win. I don't like either one of them. Hope y'all have a good rest of the day, man. I'm out. Take care of your mentals. Peace.